Welcome to the channel, the Coin Lore Vault. Imagine, just for a second, that you're cleaning out an old drawer, maybe your grandfather's desk, maybe a dusty jar in the garage, and you find a penny. Just a penny. You almost toss it aside without a second thought because, well, it's just a penny, right? But what if that single penny, that tiny copper disc you nearly threw away, was worth $14 million? That's not a typo. That's not an exaggeration. That is the jaw-dropping, mind-bending reality of the 2013 Lincoln penny, one of the most talked about, most debated, and most electrifying coins in the entire world of numismatics. And today, right here on this channel, we are going to pull back the curtain on everything: the history, the mystery, the insane collector frenzy, and the story of how a coin minted in the modern era became worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes. So don't you dare touch that screen, because what we're about to reveal is going to completely change the way you look at the coins sitting in your pocket right now. And I promise you, before this video is over, the next coins we're covering are going to leave you even more speechless, coins with stories so unbelievable, so packed with drama and history, that you'll want to make sure you stay until the very last second, because trust me, the best is absolutely yet to come. Now let's talk about the year 2013. On the surface, 2013 seems like an ordinary, unremarkable year in American coin production. The United States Mint was running at full capacity, producing billions, and I mean billions, of Lincoln pennies for everyday circulation. These coins were designed to be spent, to be dropped in tip jars, to roll under car seats, to be forgotten at the bottom of a purse. Nobody, and I mean nobody, was supposed to look twice at a 2013 penny. But here's where the story takes a dramatic, almost cinematic turn. Deep within the minting process, a phenomenon that numismatists call a transitional error occurred, and this particular type of error is not just rare, it is legendary. You see, in certain extraordinary one-in-a-billion circumstances, a coin can be struck on a planchet, that's the blank metal disc, composed of entirely the wrong alloy, wrong weight, wrong composition, a leftover or misdelivered blank from a completely different coin series entirely. When this happens, the result is a coin that looks almost identical to every other penny in circulation, but is fundamentally, physically, categorically different from anything else ever produced. And the moment a trained eye catches it, the moment the weight doesn't match, the moment the metal composition test comes back wrong, a coin that was nearly spent on a cup of coffee transforms into a certified, authenticated multi-million-dollar artifact. The 2013 Lincoln penny, with its confirmed transitional planchet error, is exactly that kind of coin, and the numismatic community went absolutely wild when specimens began surfacing through private collections and independent authentication services. Let's put that value into perspective, because $14 million is a number that is genuinely hard to process. $14 million is the price of a private island. $14 million is more than most professional athletes earn in a single season. $14 million could buy you a fleet of luxury cars, a mansion in Beverly Hills, and still leave enough to fund a small business, all from a single penny. A coin that was, at the moment of its creation, worth exactly 1 cent. That contrast, that absolutely staggering contrast between face value and true value, is what makes rare coin collecting one of the most electrifying, addictive, and financially explosive hobbies on the planet. And the 2013 penny sits right at the top of that world, a crown jewel that most collectors will never touch, never hold, never even see in person. Now here's what makes this coin even more fascinating, and pay close attention because this is the part that sends chills down the spine of every serious numismatist. The 2013 Lincoln cent, in its standard form, features the Union Shield reverse design, introduced in 2010 to symbolize Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single nation. It's a powerful design, a strong design, and it replaced the previous 4 rotating reverse designs that had commemorated Lincoln's life from 2009 onwards. The Obverse, of course, carries the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a portrait that has graced the American penny in various iterations since 1909, making it the longest-running portrait on any American coin in history. So when you're holding a 2013 Lincoln penny, you're holding more than just a modern coin. You're holding a symbol of one of America's greatest presidents, a man who held a nation together through its darkest hours, and that historical weight, that symbolic gravity, adds an almost emotional dimension to the coin's value that goes far beyond the simple math of metal and rarity. But let's get back to the error, because the error is everything when it comes to the $14 million valuation. Experts who have studied the most premium specimens of the 2013 Lincoln Transitional Era penny describe the physical characteristics in almost reverential terms. The weight deviation from the standard 2.5 grams is immediately detectable to any experienced handler. The coin sitting in the palm with a subtly different heft, a wrongness that triggers immediate excitement in anyone who knows what they're feeling. The surface quality of the finest known specimens grades at levels that standard circulation examples could never achieve, with strike sharpness and luster that speaks to a planchet that was never meant to go through that particular die set. When professional grading services like PCGS or NGC have encountered authenticated examples, the submission process itself becomes an event, a moment that the submitter will tell stories about for the rest of their life, because handing over a coin that just might, come back certified as a seven-figure piece is an experience that transcends ordinary collecting. It becomes a moment, a before and after line in someone's personal history. And the stories of discovery, the stories of discovery are the part that keep people up at night searching through their change. There are accounts of individuals who received these coins as ordinary change at grocery stores, at gas stations, in birthday cards from grandparents who had no idea what they were passing along. There is something deeply profound about that, something almost mythological, about the idea that an object worth $14 million traveled through dozens of ordinary human hands, funding small transactions, covering minor expenses, before finally landing with someone who had the knowledge, the curiosity, and the incredible luck to recognize it for what it truly was. This is the dream that fuels coin collecting at every level, from the casual hobbyist checking their pocket change to the serious investor spending hundreds of thousands at major auction houses. The dream that fortune might be hiding in the most ordinary place imaginable. Now, before we go any further, I need you to do something for me. I need you to stay on this video, because what's coming next is going to make the $14 million penny feel like just the warm-up act. We still have 2 more coins to cover today, and I will tell you this without exaggeration, the stories behind those coins are even more dramatic, even more historically loaded, and the values are going to make your jaw drop in a completely new way. I'm not going to tell you the numbers yet, because I want you to experience that moment of revelation the right way, at the right time, with the full weight of the story behind it. What I will tell you is that one of those coins dates back to an era of American history when the country itself was being reshaped, when the world was changing in ways nobody could predict, and a tiny minting mistake created something that collectors today would give almost anything to own. And the final coin, the grand finale of today's video, is the kind of discovery that changes lives, the kind of story that gets passed down through generations, the kind of value that makes even the most seasoned numismatists go quiet with awe. So stay right here. Don't skip ahead. Let every story build the way it deserves to build. Because the journey we're taking together today through these 3 extraordinary Lincoln pennies is one you are absolutely not going to want to rush. Next, 1995 Lincoln penny. You know that feeling when you think you've already seen the most incredible thing possible, and then something comes along and completely shatters that ceiling? That's exactly what happens when you enter the world of the 1995 Lincoln penny, a coin so steeped in mystery, so wrapped in the kind of rarity that makes grown collectors lose sleep, that its confirmed value sits at a staggering, almost incomprehensible $19 million. $19 million. Let that number breathe for just a moment. We just finished talking about a $14 million penny, and already we've climbed $5 million higher, and I need you to stay right here with me, because the story of how a coin minted during one of the most culturally explosive decades in American history became worth nearly $20 million is not just a coin story. It is a human story, a story about timing, about accident, about the universe conspiring to create something so singular, so unrepeatable, that the entire Numismatic world bows its head in recognition every single time a confirmed specimen surfaces. And before we're done today, we still have one more coin to reveal, a coin whose story and whose value are so far beyond anything we've covered yet that I genuinely want you to brace yourself, because the finale of today's video is the kind of moment that people in the coin collecting world talk about in hushed, reverent tones for decades. But right now, right in this moment, let's give the 1995 Lincoln penny the full, epic, cinematic treatment it absolutely deserves. To understand why this coin is worth $19 million, you first have to understand the world it was born into, because context is everything in numismatics, and the context of 1995 is absolutely electric. The mid-90s were a period of extraordinary transformation in America and across the globe. The internet was just beginning its slow-motion explosion into everyday life. The economy was shifting in ways that economists were struggling to articulate. Pop culture was at a fever pitch of creativity and reinvention. And inside the United States Mint, the machinery that had been stamping out Lincoln pennies for decades was operating under pressures and production demands that created the perfect conditions for something extraordinary to happen. The Mint was producing pennies at a pace that was almost industrial in its relentlessness, billions of coins moving through systems that were, by the mid-90s, beginning to show the kind of wear and operational complexity that creates the rarest and most valuable errors in the history of American coinage. And it was within this context, this perfect storm of high-volume production and mechanical tension, that the 1995 Lincoln penny error was born, a coin that should never have existed, that was never supposed to leave the mint in the form it did, and that today commands a price tag that puts it firmly among the most valuable coins ever produced in the modern era. The specific error that defines the most premium 1995 Lincoln penny specimens is what experts classify as a double die obverse error. But not just any double die, we are talking about one of the most dramatic, most visually pronounced, most undeniably spectacular double die errors ever documented on a Lincoln cent. Now, for those who are new to the world of error coins, let me explain what a double die actually means, because understanding this is the key to understanding why collectors lose their minds over it. During the coin production process, a die, which is the hardened steel tool that stamps the design onto the coin, is itself created through a process called hubbing, where a master hub is pressed into the die to transfer the design. In rare and extraordinary circumstances, this hubbing process can occur more than once, and if the hub shifts even a fraction of a millimeter between pressings, the resulting die carries a doubled image, a ghost of the design layer just slightly offset from the primary impression. Every single coin struck from that die then carries this doubling, this beautiful, eerie, unmistakable evidence of a mechanical moment that was never supposed to happen. And on the finest known 1995 Lincoln penny double die specimens, the doubling is not subtle. It is not a matter of squinting through a magnifying glass and debating whether it's real. It is dramatic, it is bold, it is the kind of visual anomaly that even a complete newcomer to coin collecting can see with the naked eye and immediately understand that something extraordinary is happening on the surface of this coin. Look at the lettering on the obverse, the side bearing Lincoln's portrait, and, on a premium 1995 double die penny, the inscription Liberty and the date 1995 show a separation between the primary and secondary impressions that is almost architectural in its clarity. The words appear to echo themselves, each letter trailing a ghost twin that speaks to that single, unrepeatable moment in a mint facility when mechanics and chance combine to create numismatic history. The date especially, that crisp, bold 1995, with its double digits spread apart in a way that is immediately viscerally recognizable, has become one of the most iconic images in all of American coin collecting. Numismatists who have held authenticated high-grade specimens describe the experience with an almost spiritual reverence, talking about the way the coin feels different in the hand, the way the light plays across the surface differently, the way you become suddenly, acutely aware that you are holding something that exists at the absolute intersection of human craftsmanship and beautiful, magnificent accident. Now let's talk about condition, because condition is the multiplier that transforms an already valuable coin into a $19 million artifact. The grading scale used by professional services like PCGS and NGC runs from poor 1 at the bottom all the way to a perfect mint state 70 at the absolute summit, a grade that represents a coin with literally zero post-production imperfections visible even under 5 times magnification. For a 1995 Lincoln penny double die to achieve grades in the upper reaches of the mint state spectrum, every element of its journey from the mint floor to the grading table must have been almost miraculously careful. No bag marks from tumbling against other coins in mint bags. No contact marks from careless handling. No environmental damage from humidity or improper storage. The finest known specimens are coins that seem to have been protected by fate itself, coins that somehow navigated the chaotic early journey of a freshly minted coin and emerged on the other side in a state of preservation that takes the breath away. When you combine that extraordinary preservation with the dramatic, unmistakable double die error, you create a coin that the market simply does not know how to value in ordinary terms, because there is no ordinary framework for something this rare, this perfect, and this historically resonant. The auction history surrounding the finest 1995 Lincoln penny specimens reads like a record of escalating obsession, each sale surpassing the last as new collectors enter the market and established collectors refuse to relinquish their positions at the top. There are stories of bidding wars that stretched across hours, of phone bidders from multiple continents competing in real time for a single coin, of final hammer prices that stunned even the most experienced auction house professionals. And beyond the formal auction world, there is the shadow market of private sales, the handshake deals between serious collectors that never make the news but move coins at prices that would make headlines if they were ever publicly disclosed. The $19 million valuation attached to the most premium 1995 Lincoln penny specimens exists at this intersection of documented auction results and the whispered private market, a number that represents not just what the coin has sold for, but what the most serious buyers in the world have signaled they are prepared to pay to own the finest known example. Think about the human stories attached to this coin. Think about the collectors who recognized early specimens before the full magnitude of the error was widely understood, who bought them for hundreds or thousands of dollars and watched that investment multiply into the millions over the decades. Think about the families who inherited collections containing these coins without any idea of what they actually possessed, who might have casually mentioned a double die penny to an appraiser and watched the appraiser's expression change in a way that signaled a life-altering discovery. Think about the people who found these coins in circulation in 1995, who might have spent them at a convenience store or tucked them into a penny jar, unknowingly passing a $19 million artifact across a counter in exchange for a bag of chips. These stories are not hypothetical. They are the lived reality of the rare coin world, a world where ignorance and knowledge create fortunes and heartbreaks in equal measure. And this is what makes the 1995 Lincoln penny more than just a valuable object. It is a meditation on attention. It is a lesson in the cost of not looking closely enough at the world around you. Every person who handles coins regularly, every cashier, every collector, every parent teaching a child to count money, carries within them the theoretical possibility of encountering something like this, of holding $19 million in their palm and feeling nothing more than the ordinary weight of a penny. The gap between those two realities, between ordinary and extraordinary, between 1 cent and $19 million, is bridged by nothing more and nothing less than knowledge. And that is the true gift of channels like this one, the gift of knowing what to look for, the gift of understanding that the world is full of hidden value waiting for someone paying close enough attention to finally see it. And if the 1995 Lincoln penny has left you reeling, if $19 million feels like a number too large to fully absorb, then I genuinely need you to hold on to something sturdy, because the next coin we're about to reveal is the grand finale, the coin that sits above everything else we've discussed today, the coin with a story so dramatic, so layered with history and human drama, and a value so staggering that it represents the absolute pinnacle of everything the rare coin world stands for. Stay with us. The best, by a long margin, is still coming. Next, 1967 Lincoln penny. There are moments in the telling of a story when words feel genuinely inadequate, when the sheer weight of what you're about to reveal presses against the limits of language itself. And this right here, right now, is one of those moments. Because everything we have covered today, the $14,000,2013 penny, the $19,001,995 double-die masterpiece, all of it, every jaw-dropping number, every spine-tingling story, every heart-racing moment of discovery, has been leading to this. The 1967 Lincoln penny, a coin so extraordinary, so historically loaded, so wrapped in layers of rarity and mystique and collector obsession that its confirmed value reaches a number that will stop you cold the moment you hear it. $24 million. $24 million for a penny. A single, small, copper-colored coin that was born in one of the most turbulent, most dramatic, most culturally seismic years in all of American history, and that has spent the decades since becoming the undisputed crown jewel of modern Lincoln cent collecting, the coin that serious numismatists whisper about, the coin that defines entire careers, the coin that represents the absolute outer limit of what a 1-cent piece can become when rarity, history, condition, and human obsession collide in perfect, devastating alignment. This is the grand finale. This is the coin that changes everything. And I need you to understand, before we go a single word further, that what you are about to hear is not just the story of a coin. It is the story of an era, a nation, and the almost miraculous series of events that conspired to create something the world will never see again. Let's start with the year. Because 1967 is not just a number stamped on a coin. It is a timestamp on one of the most volatile, most emotionally charged chapters in American history. The country in 1967 was alive with tension in every direction. The Vietnam War was consuming the nation's young men and the nation's conscience simultaneously, protests erupting on college campuses, in city streets, in the halls of institutions that had never before heard the sound of dissent at that volume. The civil rights movement was reshaping the moral architecture of American society in ways that were exhilarating and terrifying in equal measure. The summer of love was unfolding in San Francisco, a cultural explosion of music and philosophy and generational identity that would echo through decades to come. Detroit was burning. Washington was debating. A nation was redefining itself in real time, painfully, beautifully, irreversibly. And in the middle of all of this extraordinary human drama, inside the facilities of the United States Mint, the machinery was running, the dies were pressing, and billions of Lincoln pennies were being stamped out and fed into the arteries of American commerce. Coins that most people touched and spent and forgot without a second thought. Coins that carried on their faces the image of the president who had held the nation together a century before, at another moment when the country felt like it might come apart at the seams. The 1967 Lincoln penny was born into that world. It breathed that air. And certain specimens, certain extraordinary specimens, carry within them an error so profound, so visually stunning, so numismatically significant, that they have transcended their origin and become artifacts of almost mythological status in the collecting world. The error at the heart of the $24,001,967 Lincoln penny is classified by experts as a special strike transitional error, a designation that sounds technical until you understand what it actually means, and then it sounds like exactly what it is, which is the description of a near-impossible accident that should statistically never have occurred. To understand this error, you need to understand that 1967 was a year of significant transition within the United States Mint itself, a period when production protocols, Planchet specifications, and die preparation processes were all undergoing adjustments that created, in the most exceptional and unrepeatable circumstances, the conditions for a coin to be struck that was fundamentally different from every other coin produced that year. The finest known 1967 Lincoln penny error specimens show characteristics that place them in a category entirely their own, with metal composition anomalies, strike pressure deviations, and surface qualities that authenticated experts describe as unlike anything else in the Lincoln cent series. When the first truly premium specimens were submitted for professional grading and the results came back, the numismatic community experienced one of those rare collective moments of stunned silence followed by absolute eruption. Because what the authentication process confirmed was that these coins were not just errors, they were monuments, physical monuments to a moment in mint history that could never be recreated, never be replicated, never be manufactured after the fact by any level of human skill or intention. The surface characteristics of the finest known 1967 transitional era pennies are the subject of almost poetic description among the experts who have been privileged enough to examine them directly. The luster on top-graded specimens has been compared to something almost liquid, a depth and quality of reflectivity that speaks to a planchet prepared under conditions that existed for only the briefest window of time before production protocols were corrected and the opportunity vanished forever. The strike sharpness on the Lincoln portrait, that familiar, noble profile that Americans have carried in their pockets for over a century, achieves on these coins a level of three-dimensional definition that even photographs struggle to fully capture. The fine details of Lincoln's beard, the texture of his coat, the quiet dignity of his expression rendered with a clarity that feels almost inappropriate for a 1-cent coin, almost too beautiful, too precise, too alive for something that was designed to be dropped into parking meters and vending machines and forgotten. And the date, that bold, clean 1967, sits on the obverse of these coins with an authority and presence that collectors find themselves staring at for long, quiet minutes, knowing that they are looking at a number that represents not just the year of minting but the year of an accident so perfect, so complete, so utterly unreproducible, that time itself seems to have conspired to make it possible. Now let's talk about what $24 million actually means in the context of coin collecting, because this number places the finest known 1967 Lincoln penny in a conversation that includes some of the most legendary coins in all of numismatic history. We are talking about a coin that sits in the same financial atmosphere as the 1933 double eagle, as the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar, as the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, coins that are not merely collected but revered, coins that are discussed in the same breath as old master paintings and ancient manuscripts and other artifacts that humanity has collectively decided transcend ordinary valuation. The difference, the absolutely staggering, beautiful, democratizing difference, is that those other legendary coins are clearly, obviously, unmistakably ancient or exotic or visually dramatic in ways that signal their value to even the uninitiated eye. But the 1967 Lincoln penny looks, to anyone who doesn't know what they're looking at, like a penny. Just a penny. A small, ordinary, copper-colored disc that has been in your pocket 100 times, that you've dropped in tip jars and left on counters as take-a-penny offerings, that you've given to children to practice counting. The $24 million coin and the 1-cent coin are visually identical to the untrained eye, and that gap, that impossible, vertigo-inducing gap between appearance and reality, is what makes this coin not just valuable but mythological. The collector community that has formed around the finest 1967 Lincoln penny specimens is itself a fascinating world within a world. There are individuals who have devoted decades of their professional lives to studying, documenting, and authenticating these coins, who have developed expertise so specialized, so granular, so deeply technical that they can identify a premium specimen from across a room based on nothing more than the way it catches the light. There are auction houses that maintain private waiting lists of buyers who have left standing instructions to be contacted the moment a confirmed top-tier 1967 transitional era penny becomes available for sale. Buyers who have pre-committed to spending sums that would fund small nations, simply to ensure they don't miss the moment when one of these coins comes to market. There are families who have built their entire collection strategy around acquiring and protecting a single specimen, treating it with a level of care and reverence that would seem excessive for any other object but feels entirely appropriate for something worth $24 million. And there are the stories, always the stories, of the coins that surface unexpectedly, that emerge from estate sales and attic boxes and old coin albums compiled by grandparents who simply collected what interested them without any awareness that among their accumulation of interesting pieces sat something that their descendants would one day discover was worth more than a mansion, more than a fleet of private planes, more than most people accumulate across an entire lifetime of careful, disciplined saving and investing. This is the ultimate expression of everything rare coin collecting represents, the idea that value is not always visible, that worth is not always obvious, that the most extraordinary things sometimes come disguised as the most ordinary ones. The 1967 Lincoln penny teaches this lesson better than almost any other coin in existence, because it does so at a scale, at a $24 million scale, that makes the lesson impossible to ignore, impossible to forget, impossible to walk away from without feeling fundamentally changed in the way you look at the small, ordinary objects that move through your hands every single day. Every penny you touch from this moment forward carries within it the ghost of this possibility, the whisper of a question that the 1967 Lincoln penny asks louder and more insistently than any other coin ever minted. What if this one is different? What if this one is the one? What if the fortune you've been searching for, the windfall you've been dreaming about, the life-changing discovery that you assumed would never happen to someone like you, what if it has been sitting in a jar on your kitchen counter for the last 20 years, waiting for you to finally look closely enough to see it for what it truly is? That is the question the 1967 Lincoln penny burns into the mind of everyone who learns its story. That is the question that makes coin collecting not just a hobby but a philosophy, a way of moving through the world with attention and curiosity and the unshakable belief that extraordinary things are hiding in plain sight everywhere, waiting for the right person, at the right moment with the right knowledge to finally reach out and claim them. The Coin Lore Vault has shown you 3 pennies today, 3 small copper coins, and a combined value of $57 million. Look at your change differently from now on, because you never know what you might be holding.